Hi, I'm Priscilla Walters, a pastor's wife with my husband Jim Walters. We came here in 1976 as pastors.
Calvin Thompson, and I was here from 1980 to 1987. I was 27 years old when I started here, so that was a few years ago.
Hi, I'm Tom Schroer. I was the lead pastor here at North Hills from September of 1995 until December of 2005. I came to North Hills from the Midwest when I was 45 years old.
I'm Kay. They used to call me Pastor Kay. And I always took care of the member care and visitations, new babies, people in the hospital, and all the shut-ins, and also planned many of the activities for the church.
My name is Terry Benson. I was at North Hills from 1998 till 2018. Yes.
Right. And my name is Diana Irizarry Benson, wife of Pastor Benson. And I came on when we got married in 2000, and then once I became his wife, and I was here with him for those many years until we retired in 2018.
Yep.
Yeah, and there you go.
Hi, I'm Tim Kress.
Hi, I'm Danielle Kress.
And I've had the esteemed privilege of being the lead pastor here at North Hills since 2018.
My memory is that the number of people who were meeting regularly were less than 50, Priscilla. I think it was more like 35, 40, maybe 45 who would regularly gather. I was only here for about 4 years before going to teach at Loma Linda, but they were rather dynamic years because we went from being a company to being accepted into the Fellowship of Churches of Southern California Conference. I looked around and somehow, I don't remember just how, I heard that the Diocese of LA owned this 5 acres that this church is on, across from Condit School. And we didn't need 5 acres, so we talked with a builder of tract homes in the Pomona Church, Earl King, and worked out an arrangement for getting the 5 acres for their asking price. And they said, yes, we'll sell it to you, $90,000 for 5 acres. And we decided to buy it, and then we divided it in half. This church is on 2.5 acres. We turned the other half into a cul-de-sac with 8 homes on it.
We realized early on that one person or even 3 or 4 people couldn't minister to the needs of a church congregation, especially with the number of people that we had coming. And so we started small groups with a curriculum and whatnot, all leading towards ministry, people getting involved in ministry.
I think in the first 7 years when I was associate and worship leader, the thing that I loved the most was being able to build a cohesive worship experience or worship time. Yeah. And every service we tried to plan according to what Tom's sermon was and to fit the songs with it.
When we first came, we were welcomed with open arms. I fell in love with the people. They wanted to know us for who we were, not because we were the pastor's family, but because we were a new group of people that were coming that had kids that they could love on.
There were some interesting things going on in the conference at that time. One of those things that played a major role in what happened here at North Hills in the ensuing years was the conference was very pro sending the pastors down to the purpose-driven church conferences down in Saddleback. My eyes were opened to a whole new way of doing ministry, of doing church, what church was all about. And one of the things when I interviewed with the board that they had told me was we don't want to do church the way we've been doing church forever. We want to be involved, relevant, doing things that
Would actually meet the community.
that would meet the
Reach
needs
out
of
to
the
community.
the community.
Just several months after we went into this structure, we invited the whole community to come for the Good Friday service. And we had all folk from Claremont coming into this service for that ecumenical annual service that Claremont puts on for its citizens.
Council of Churches in the community was very active, and so that actually gave us a good opportunity to network with other people who were doing service projects, who were cooperating in different ministries to the community, a lot of worship experiences that brought the churches together, so that was one of the real positive things. We did a lot of, some more traditional evangelism. We had a cooking school. We had, we used to do a lot of 5-day stop smoking clinics.
In 1996, our drama ministry began here in North Hills, and it was a phenomenal success for quite a few years until everybody just kind of wore out, I think. Our drama productions usually ministered to close to 1,000, 1,200 people on the weekends that we would put them on, either at Easter or Christmas.
Kay was the voice of the church. She went out to the community and talked to the little people, and she'd go to the hospitals, and she'd call, and she'd visit, and she was there. She was like the mother, taking care of everybody else.
There's been many more ministries I think that we've gotten on board with and that we are reaching out into our communities with. Sabbath School, one for sure being one of them, and just investing in our kids, making sure we continue, and I know that started before we came, but continuing to invest in our kids, really developing the relationships that we have with them, whether they're here at church or not, they're wanting to come to Sabbath School, and they make that time to come to Sabbath School because they know they're loved and they're cared for.
What I had in my mind and what had really become a part of my heart was that the church would become a dynamic force for good and for God in the community. That we would make a difference. If we're not making a difference for the good and for positive in our community, then we don't really...
Mm-hmm. Who are we?
Who are we? Mm-hmm. What's the point? Because that's not the church that Jesus established.
Esther Burley Ames. She had been trained, I think, a master's degree in early childhood development, and she was very interested in the outreach to the community, having a church that would be functional not just one day a week, but also that the footprint on the environment would be such that the preschool could be utilized.
Christmas, we would collect money here, or gifts here, and presents here for the elderly. I had made a quilt so that people could pick off names and how much they wanted to give, and then we would go there and even help with the dinner, sing Christmas carols. This is probably one of my favorite. Every year we would be able to do that. And
we did it for we did it for the family housing.
We also did
with
for the
children.
For the children, we got backpacks. That was always so much fun to do.
Did backpack ministry, and then we did it also for the seniors. So,
yeah.
So the idea, we tried, and everything we tried to do something where we were actually engaged with them, so that it wasn't just, we're dropping off a pile of presents.
We've also had the partnerships with people, whether it's Kudavana Children's Home in Zimbabwe, or Holbrook Indian School in Arizona, or our two local partners, Foothill Family Housing and Hope Through Housing. Just these partnerships where we've said, hey, there are people doing incredible things in our community, so let's help them raise money. Let's help them find volunteers. We don't have to reinvent the wheel every time or be the answer for everything. We can help these other organizations. And that's been a neat way to expand the influence, just to try and be the hands and feet and the voice of Jesus as a church.
If I have one wish for the North Hills Church, it would be that something that we may have contributed early on would live on. A ecumenical sort of big tent Adventism that is welcoming and beyond the sort of sectarian mentality that too many Adventists have had and continue to have.
It's, when a lot of churches, kind of struggle and flounder and sometimes go under, it's a church that has, at least from what I can see, has always done a really good job of staying contemporary, staying vibrant. And so I guess it'd be more building on that foundation. Who knows what the world will bring, but I just think, I'd say to continue to innovate, but in ways that, keep the core of what the church is all about. I think that's what the church has done well. I would certainly wish this church would continue to do that.
I would hope that it would be united with one purpose, to serve God with all their heart and to serve the community, and bring people, be able to bring people to a place where they can find God and then would want to share it. And not only that, but also to build a community even within this church where love abides here, so that when they walk through the door, people are loved.
It would be not to settle, not to get comfortable. God doesn't ask us to get comfortable. He asks us to go out and make disciples.
My desire for not just North Hills, but for any church or any person that calls themselves a Christian is to answer that question. What is it that God really wants from me?
I think the thing that weighs on my mind now, and it really started hitting me before I retired, a few years before, and that is the foundation of our faith is a person. Mm-hmm. It's not an idea. Mm-hmm. And so what each one of us need to do is get to know Jesus through Scripture, through doing what he said to do and failing, and we don't learn unless we go through some bumps, but to actually put into practice what we're doing, but to really become intentional about being a disciple, a follower, a student of Christ. Because I think that as we do that, we're going to realize that this man, Jesus, is not just the foundation of our faith, he is the literal connection to all that's good in our lives.
I can say that 50 years from now, what does God want with your life? But the actual feet on the ground, without that kind of ministry that puts action to the words that are being preached, you don't have anything. You got to have both.
My wish would just be that everyone is the church, decides to commit to be the church together, because the mission that Jesus gave us isn't for like some paid pastors. It's for all of us, right?
God is using this church to make a difference in the world that you live in, and that's really the best hope that I could have. Whatever happens, to the bells and whistles, that's always going to change. But what shouldn't change is really having a heart for Christ, and then having Christ's heart for people and for the community.